that open there.
I mean, I can leave a copy.
No, that's fine. I don't need a hard copy.
Do you want me to, I'll send you another one.
No, but if you have other pictures when the time comes, send
No, I've
those.
got pictures, you know, it's like this whole pandemic era fencing, you know, stitching everything we begin with.
Susan, I have no idea about, I have only Brian and Eugene I know won't. I have just no idea about anyone, so we'll just wait.
All right, well, if you're here for 95 Horatio, could you please raise your hand because I don't see your name. Ah, okay. Those aren't the names we have as presenters, so very good. I'll promote you both to panelists.
Can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. We will wait a couple of more minutes to see if we have any more committee members join us, and then we'll start.
Okay.
Thanks.
Susan, it's set up so that all of the presenters online hear me right now.
Yes.
Okay. Before we start, I'd just like to say you all are aware of what a full agenda we have for tonight. The primary things that we're interested in are the historic condition, the present condition, and the proposal that you're making to change the condition. If you can concentrate on those three things, it would be a great help. If some history is pertinent to what you're doing, do include that. But just understand that we're trying to be as economical as possible with the time. And when question time comes, it's not necessary to make another defense of your presentation. Just simply answer the question is sufficient. We're still waiting a few minutes for other committee members to arrive.
Okay.
Just one other.
Just a quick question. We will be sharing the screen or will you
Yes,
guys
yes.
have?
Yes, and you move it along as you need it. Another thing for all the presenters is that I've noticed several of the applications have examples that are not in the district and not even the kind of building that's being considered. So when you're showing examples for comparison, just be sure that they're in the district and close both geographically and to the type of building. If it's a row house, it should be a row house that is compared and so forth.
Sold. The main folder. Oh. Is that the last one?
Susan, this one is very simple, so I suggest that we begin.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's 5:37 and.
Do you want me to handle that so you can concentrate on the,
That's okay for now, thanks.
Oh, sorry, I have to say a few things before we do. This is the Community Board 2, the second of two landmarks committee meetings for this month. And I want to,
Okay.
I'll speak to about the public when that time.
You can just I wrote down for them whenever you
Okay,
want.
when you're ready for 95 Horatio Street, please.
Okay.
The application is to construct a new window opening on the 6th floor on the Gansevoort Street's facade.
So you ready for us?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Hi, so I'm Steve Kilcoyne, Allen and Kilcoyne Architects. We're working on this project for TF Cornerstone. who own 95 Horatio, which is a very large apartment building, which has been combined over many years, several buildings with different facades, kind of all put together. And our window proposal is for the Gansevoort St side. So let's see. Kind of see here, the hatched area is 95 Horatio Street. And then you could see kind of on the northern western facade, we've noted where that new window would be located across from the museum. Here's some historic photographs showing the previous early carnation of the building. We're on the 6th floor, which is one down from the top. It's kind of between the two friezes. Yes. So we're kind of right in there. You can see in this image, we've noted where we're going to be doing the work. There's a brick spot there that we're going to be putting a window. Here's the actual elevation. And our proposal is to match the other two pairs of windows that exist towards the west. So that's existing, and this is our proposed. The windows have all been approved, are all approved by landmarks, previous applications. All the windows are fairly new. We would just be matching the existing. There's an image looking up. Voila. You know, you have 3 pairs of windows up in that frieze between the two friezes. Existing, proposed. And this is just the plan. We're doing this to enhance an apartment which is kind of lacking light. So you can see here more dimension drawings showing how we're going to match the existing pair of windows to the right.
These are just the details
Yeah, these are just details.
of the previously approved windows.
So they're double hungs. And that's an abbreviated description of what we're doing. If there's any questions, just let me know.
Okay, thank you. Anything, Susan?
Yeah, the obvious question is, since that window obviously interrupts the whole cadence or rhythm of that facade, there isn't a window in that spot in its vertical orientation. So was there ever a window there? And if not, can you offer a justification for putting one in, an architectural justification for a historic district? Not, I mean, obviously we understand the desire to have more light inside, but it does seem like it's at a cost to the look of the Gansevoort St facade. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are.
Okay, well, I mean, as with many things, it did work its way from the inside out. It was something that the owner wanted. And then we carefully looked at it and say, okay, well, how can we best come up with a solution that fits in with the facade? And so, like I noted, we decided to take the pairing of windows that happen on the two west sides and repeat them. To me, I don't really know, honestly, if there was a row of windows there before and they got removed. The building's probably been altered many times. And as you can see, as you look down the Gansevoort facade, it's really a number of buildings. So when we walk down the street, it's really just a cacophony of kind of windows smattered across the block. The brick all matches, but the window fenestration is always different. And so to us, it wasn't a terrible sin to add a window up there when there is no regularity to the entire facade. And the fact that it's between the two friezes I think even helps that argument.
Well, it's matching horizontally and not matching vertically.
That's correct.
So that's is the justification. in one way.
Yes.
I don't have any.
Thank you. Chanel, you don't have anything?
No.
All right, let's see if there are any members of the public online. Please raise a hand if you'd like to ask a question or speak. All right, no raised hands. Oh, wait, one. Hang on. Okay, well, that hand disappeared. So I guess we're done. Thank you so much for your short and sweet presentation.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
You don't have a
Thank
longer
you.
presentation. It's so clear.
All right. Take care.
You
Thank-
too.
The next application is for 115 Mercer Street to install a flagpole and banner.
Hi, Mary.
Good evening.
Mary, do we hear you?
Do
Oh, I
you?
thought Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you send a revised application late today?
This will also be short.
Oh, is there a revised application today?
Yes, I
Okay.
sent one in.
Would
The
you just
scope is
want-
the same, but it's just a more refined.
We didn't get a oh, so it's not changing the.
No, it just looks different.
Okay.
I sent
Just
it to
point out
Florence.
anything significant that's different because we've seen the other one and probably not seen this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got it about 5 to
Did I read? Yes.
5 with a note from Mary explaining that it was not a substantial, there was the changes weren't of substance. They were
Yeah.
just refined.
But I could send it to you. You got it, right? So I'm going to show you this one, and I can email this one to you if you need it for later.
I have it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Good evening and thanks. I'm Mary Derricks, the preservation consultant for the project. This is for a new banner or flag and flagpole on 115 Mercer Street. Here's the building. The building's 6 bays wide, so it looks like 2 buildings, but it's one. Here's the block. This is Mercer. Block has a lot of banners and flags. The building was built in 1872 and designed by architect Julius Bokel as a store and storehouse. This is in 1940 and at designation. It looks much nicer now. This is our proposal. So this signage below at the storefront is all existing. So all we're proposing is this banner and pole. The new banner, at one point I sent in because that's what I was sent, drawings that were the old drawings that talk about all these signs as proposed. They are not proposed. They're existing. They've already gotten a permit, and it is only the banner and pole that are in this application. It's going to be fabric in a dark brown with white lettering, 410 by 5'7". And the pole will be a dark brown metal extending 9 feet. This is typical. It's a little bit smaller than many, but in general about the Soho side street size. Here's a blow up of the elevation and section. and here are the details. It's kind of the standard flag, pole and flag. We will try to have the bolts inserted into the mortar joints where it is at all possible. It's a Boji store. Boji is an international company with over 135 stores worldwide. This is their first US store. Their stores have a clean, modern look, and they're compatible with the architecture that they're in, whether it's modern or historic. As you well know, flags are common in Soho. And a lot have been approved by landmarks. This sheet gives you buildings that have flags and bracket signs. The one 11416 green was actually approved, and landmarks noted that the building was large, and it reaches a pair of buildings like 115 Mercer, and the cumulative amount of signage will not overwhelm the facade. Very similar to our situation. There are other ones that have flags and bracket signs are with 62 Worcester, 116 Prince, and that's 120 Prince. I don't know if all of these have permits. You can't access older permits, but I can tell you that none of them has a violation. So these are just the typical flags in the Soho neighborhood, all in the immediate vicinity. Many of these have permits or were acknowledged as grandfathered in the permits. And in the same way, the landmarks talks about how these are big buildings, and with the flags and the signs, they're simply not overwhelming the buildings. Here's our proposal. That's what we have, flag and pole.
And talking about the facade and so forth, you're representing that it conforms to all the regulations.
The
About
signage does, yes.
Off the roof, from the sidewalk and that sort of thing.
Right, the transom sign, the bracket sign, they've all been permitted and built as approved.
Right, okay. Susan, anything?
Yeah, Mary, I want to ask you about where the flagpole will penetrate the facade of the building. I was surprised to hear you say that it would go into a mortar joint where and if possible. I guess what surprised me is that that wasn't already determined.
You know, it really isn't until you get up there and start installing. It's going to go into stone. Landmarks is absolutely going to insist that it go into mortar joints. I'm hedging just because, but if they have to redesign the plate and the bolt in order to do that, they're really going to have to do it. It's a plane. You see that, you hear this a lot in the in this language in the permits. It's not it's a plane. The plain part of the facade and not the decorative part of the facade, but it is stone, and they will put it in the mortar joint when they can and do whatever they need to do to minimize the number of holes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. The next one, 225
Thank
West
you.
Street, has been laid over.
Okay, Chanel, before you move on, sorry to interrupt, but Pete Davies is here, and let's give Pete and anybody else who is in the from the public a chance to speak. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, thank you. I believe it was presented that the flag itself is 4'10" by 5'7".
No, go back to my, yes.
Okay, if the image that's shown on A203 on the linked document shows that it's a different size than that. That the 4'10" by 5'7" is the white box within the flag, that the flag itself appears to be 6'10" by 6'10" square is, so I'm confused by the conflicting numbers.
Might be my fault. All right, you can see this yourself. So there's the 9-2 of the pole.
It's the outer
The-
measurement on the far left. of
All right,
the-
so, I think you're right. And I do apologize for that. It's 6'10" in length. I was
And then the
measuring
bottom is where
the
the
box. It's a little bit hard to tell where the flag ends, but let's say 6'10" by 6'10",
yeah, so it's
which
large.
I will say it's still a standard, not large for Soho flags.
Okay, well, I also want to point out that the banner shown for 155 Mercer, which is a large banner. That one on the bottom left, the Dyson, has no permit. And there is a lot of discussion when this building was redone about the size of banners that should be allowed there. So this one, even though it doesn't have a written violation, it doesn't comport with what is supposed to be done. So,
The permit, the one that I specified, LPC 147645,
yeah,
talks about a flag and a flagpole. I
yes,
can't
but it doesn't talk
say
about-
that it was built as approved. That I
It
have
was
no
not
idea.
approved. If you look at the dates and you look at Google Street View, you'll see this is way after that was approved. This is not approved. And
Well, no,
also,
just
I
because you
wanna
have,
say-
no,
We just discussed the one here.
you can have a new flag. It's not even something that you need a permit for. You can change a flag to one that's a different color and has a different name on it.
Well, I think if the committee looks at the history of that flag, you'll find that this is way beyond what was ever discussed for that building, which had a historic flag of a certain type and a certain size. Also, I really don't see how the committee can approve this when it's being presented as, well, maybe it will find a place in the masonry to attach. We see so
take
many
care of-
things. We
Pete,
see
take care of that with the wording of the approval.
Yeah, but we see so much stuff that gets put up and then they come back and say, oh, sorry.
Well, that's how we handle it.
Well, I think it would be better to handle it by saying, make them come and show us where they're going to put it before you give approval to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Is there anybody else from the public? Okay, now we can move on, Chenault.
Okay, the
There-
West Fourth Street application is laid over. The next is for Bond Street. Application to make changes to the front facade at the mezzanine level and modify the existing fire escape. Oh, and to paint the facade, that was left off of the applications at the ground floor. When you're ready.
Mark, can you guide the applicant?
What are you trying to do?
Have my presentation here.
Then join the meeting. Log on to Zoom and join the meeting, and then you can share your screen.
Does this, I can't, did this need time and we should go to the next one, come back, or?
Yes, I think so, Chenault. Also, Chenault, what is the situation with 67 Gansevoort? They're next on the agenda.
What number is that?
Number three.
Oh, I skipped, and I'm sorry, I skipped and wrote the last thing of the wrong one. Well, let's take Gansevoort now then. You're correct. 67 Gansevoort Street. Application is to install a painted wall signage. I beg your pardon.
Hello.
Oh,
I've got my colleague Caroline also here, so let me pull up our presentation. All right, here we go. So, hi everybody. We're here today to present our application for a master plan for painted signage for our building at 67 Gansevoort Street. Caroline, do you want to give the history?
Sure. Hi, everybody. This is on behalf of Crew. We are the building owner. We purchased this building in 2020, and we've invested well over $1 million in upgrades and renovations, including reconciling previous ownership's violations on the building. So we inherited several DOB as well as landmark violations that we've since cleared. And we really feel like we're great stewards of the building. And we have our flagship store on the ground floor in the neighborhood. So we are applying for a painted sign on the side of the building, which is very typical in this zoning and meatpacking. And as you can see, the neighboring building over has one. That is actually a billboard that is leased to several different brands that lease it out from the billboard company. We are applying for a master plan for a painted sign on the side of our building, which normally can go through the staff level approvals. But there is a discrepancy with distance between the next neighboring building.
A distance between what, please?
The distance between this neighboring building over here, which is why we didn't get approved at the staff level, that Maui Gym painted sign that you see versus where we're proposing to put ours. So I'm going to let Mary Grace.
Yeah, so we, like Caroline said, we're Crew Eyewear. So this is our building. We are actually asking to just put painted signage of advertisement for our own brand. We would not be selling the rights to anyone else. The Maui Gym billboard that you see here, like Caroline said, is an actual billboard that could be different brands. And that is why we're here, because if we have any painted signage or billboard within 100 feet of our building and our proposed sign, we have to come and present and get approval this way. Typically, if it was not the case, we would be able to get this approved at the staff level. So we did a little map here. This kind of shows it better. So our building is here with the red little tick mark. This Maui Gym sign is right here, about 60 to 70 feet away from where we're proposing. And then just showing a couple other buildings directly adjacent to us or in the neighborhood that have painted signage, just as sort of a precedent of what we're trying to do. These are some images of our building. So this is, up top is the side of our building that faces the Maui Gym sign. We're actually proposing it on the opposite side of the building, so it would not be facing that signage. And this here is our proposed creative for the actual sign. So this is it on, like, with the actual scale on the building. We're proposing 3 feet setback from the front, 2 foot setback from the top, and then the sign itself would be about 13 feet by 9.75 feet. Typically, what is approved in the neighborhood is 20% of your facade can be a painted sign. We're actually proposing to do a little bit less than that. So if you look at it in elevation, this would be where the sign actually sits, and it comes out to about 14% of the visible wall area of the facade versus 20. So I'll go back to kind of this image, helps you see it as well.
Is that it?
Oh yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. I have one question, which is about the placement. Oh, I have two-
Let me set up a couple things of
Okay.
historically first.
Go ahead, Chanel.
This is a current photograph of the situation, right?
It is.
I just asked that because a penthouse has been approved for the building, the low building next door, but I guess was never built. Does this have anything to do with the prior application for a sign at this spot? We had one a couple years ago.
No,
Completely new one, yes.
we have approved blade signage on the front of the building that's hanging from the awning, as you can see. So that was all pushed through and approved by landmarks.
But no, this was one in exactly this spot that came before, but they're unrelated.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't have come from us. We have never formally applied for this, but
Okay, Susan.
Okay, two things. One is, I just want to make sure that there isn't any kind of existing ghost signage on that facade that you will be covering over in any way. There doesn't appear to be, but rendering.
No, there's not.
Okay, great, thank you. Also, in terms of the placement of the sign, I know there are regulations regarding how far from the facade and probably from the roof line as well. The rendering here looks like it's more pulled back than that little pink square on the previous slide. Are you within the guidelines there?
Yes, so the guidelines are 3 feet pulled back from the facade and then 2 feet from the top.
Right, and you're within those, because
It's better in the elevation, I would say. That's the true elevation.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, thank you, that's all I have. Thanks. Does anybody from the public have anything? Please raise your hand if you do. All right, no raised hands, Chenault.
And it wasn't on the original application, but this is the immediate picture to be shown on the sign, and then staff will approve any changes within the scope of the.
Correct. Yes, this would be the first artwork that we would put up there, and then any change would be approved via the staff level.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Is Bond Street sorted out? Within particularly some of the later ones, could you just make the maximum size for actually what you're talking about so we can see clearly? Thank you.
Okay, go
How
ahead.
is
Turn your sound off, please.
Turn it off.
That's why.
Better? Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Now can they hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right, tell me if anything is wrong with this, but, okay. Thank you, Community Board. I'm Alex Stoltz from SADA Architecture. I'm the architect for, proposing to do
Oh,
work.
excuse me, can the microphone be better placed? It's breaking up somehow.
Is this any better?
Yeah, maybe it's just not talking quite so loud.
Okay, I'll try to speak into it.
That's much better just now. Yeah, okay.
It's okay? Okay. Again, I'm Alex Stoltz from SADA Architecture. I am working on facade alterations at 4 Bond Street, which is off of Broadway. And what we are proposing today is to do work to the fire escape, minor alterations to the facade, and work to the lower floor and mezzanine windows. The first slide here is presenting the current condition along with a rendering of our proposal, which I will get into with you. Our building, again, is at 4 Bond Street within the historic district as shown here. Our building is one of 3 buildings that may have historically been the same building with several alterations over the years. This is the tax law photo on the left from 1940s and the right from 2 different views. You can see that it's been substantially altered since then. The fire escape remains the same, which is what we're going to propose to alter. And the storefront is where you're going to see some changes. Current photograph and photograph from the designation at time is pretty accurate to today. Our scope of work, the items that we're going to landmarks for the public hearing have to do with what's below, but as you can see, we're going to be painting the facade. We're going to be repainting the cornice and the fire escape, recreate the brownstones. Now we'll get into the brownstone headers, which are above the windows. As you can see, they've been removed over the years. And you can see that we're going to replace the fire escape area at the bottom, and then we're going to make alterations to the bottom glazing areas in the storefront. This is a rendering of the existing condition. And I'm happy to shift back and forth or zoom in if anybody requests. This is a CAD, and we have a rendering of it, of where we're going, where we are proposing work afterwards. So let me go through it, and if anybody wants me to go back and zoom in on it, I can. The rendering on the left is proposing that we're going to be painting the building a pewter color on the above, painting it a dark color throughout, essentially matching our neighbor to the west. And we are also going to be replacing windows, but this right here is talking about the window replacement, which is now a mezzanine behind, a legal mezzanine, and the commercial is below. Residential entry is on the lower left, commercial entry is on the middle, and a commercial window is on the right. Right now it's a hair salon. What you're looking at on the right are profiles of some of the metal that we are proposing to alter the bottom facade. We're taking off the existing cement board, changing a little bit of the signage, keeping some of the signage for the owner, because it's been in the family for a very, very long time. And also we're proposing to do alterations to include some decorative metal elements as well, bent metal. First, just to describe what we're doing for the headers, which have been removed over the years, is we have documentation that they were originally brownstone, and we're going to recreate them to match the neighbor. We have our hue based on the neighbor to the left or to the west. These are section elevations required by landmarks where you can see what we are going to be altering. Right now, the existing windows are quite small. We're going to be making them larger. And right now you can see that there's an arched steel header that used to go over the larger commercial space. And of course, we're keeping that.
As something before you go on, so we understand better about this, is this mezzanine condition the original?
No, it's not original, but it is legal.
I'm sorry.
The interior mezzanine is not original, I don't believe, but it is legal, and we are legalizing it.
But the structure of the mezzanine,
Yes.
the size and so forth.
I mean, there's no evidence that it's not original, but I don't think it was original. I think it is added, and it was added, what was added, about 30 years ago, the mezzanine? Yeah, it was added legally, and it's in the current C of O, so it is a legal mezzanine.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
But the question was it original?
I don't think it was original, but I couldn't say. I mean, I don't think they had them very often. We're looking at precedent within the historic district. We are looking at precedent which calls for decorative, non-masonry elements down below, metal, and kind of a rhythm of windows. We're proposing casement windows in our case. These are double hungs, and over commercial is really what we are interested here in. And you can kind of see this in other buildings that are not too far away, 20 Bond, Bowery, West Broadway, 420. You're seeing similar types of profiles, similar types of materials being used over. So that is our presentation. On the left, again, this is our first slide, and the last slide, you could see the existing, and on the right, you could see the proposed conditions that we are planning to do, to open it up, to give it more operable air, to remove, I didn't talk too much about the fire escape, which is now being relocated, since this huge fire escape that you can see there at the bottom is right in front of our windows. We're relocating it to put a compliant ladder down that would slide down with a long vertical, but the upper parts of the fire escape would stay the same. That's our presentation.
I have one question about the existing and the arched. Is that built or painted? The arch above the windows.
Is it built or painted? Say that again.
Is it a built architectural thing?
So the arch is an existing arch that is actually a brick arch. Let me see if I can zoom in here.
And where is that in the photograph of the original?
Yeah, let me get a little closer for you. So so there's a brick arch, and behind the brick arch, this is existing soldier course brick arch. Behind it is a steel beam with a horizontal collar tie between them.
So this is infill.
Yes, this is all infill. This is all infill. That's why we have some flexibility here. There is some steel that's been added over the years that's horizontal that we are keeping, but I don't believe that's original. So, and then if you need, I can show you the existing. Let me go back to a photograph of the existing for you. So if you were to zoom in like I am, you can see that there is a existing brick soldier coursed arch, which we are, again, we're taking out the infill, which you can, and infilling it with a.
Understand perfectly now with the blow up.
Okay.
You're finished, sir?
I am all done. Yeah, ready for questions if you need.
Janelle, do you have any other questions?
Susan, do you have anything?
No, you asked the question that I had, so I'm good.
And I just want to be clear about the paint. It's the ground floor, the mezzanine, and you're repainting all of the architectural detailing above.
We are repainting the entire building, and we're,
And
yeah,
then the black.
and the black, the dark is going to be, on the lower level below the brick soldier course, and it's also going to be on the headers of the windows.
Okay.
And the eave, the cornice.
Yeah, and the rendering, it's much clearer about what it looks like. Okay.
Okay, I actually do have one question, which is I want to just be clear on what's before us. Did you say that the recreation of those brownstone lintels is something that's at staff level, or is that before us here?
We were thinking it would be a public hearing issue, but we found documentation that it actually could be done at staff level.
Okay. All right, thanks. We'll go to the public. I think Pete has his hand raised. Let me see. Yeah.
Hi, yes, I see that the C of O says that floors 2 and above are JLWQA units, and just wanting to make sure that the work proposed will not interfere with the residential occupancy of those folks.
Yes, that's above. The mezzanine is part of the commercial space below. So no, we will not be changing up above. The upper 3 floors will remain as they are.
So the window work won't have any ramifications for those inside?
Not for the residential tenants, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Anybody else? All right, no other raised hands. So thank you, Alex. We're done.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Sure.
What about the technical issues?
Actually, sir.
Yeah.
Could go back and the stop share button.
Okay. It's always a technical issue. Got it.
Good evening. My name is,
Just
are you ready?
I'll read that.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
80 Washington Place. The application is to modify the ground floor, including new pillars, light fixtures, and bluestone pavers, and to construct a rooftop addition. Again, for the examples, just show us the ones that are in the neighborhood.
I could tell that your intro was related to our presentation, but I do think it is worthwhile and will take less than a minute. And Landmark staff has reviewed those sheets and agrees that they are useful. So I hope you'll allow me to just cover them very briefly while I go through just the historical context for what we're proposing at the front. Sarah Scher, Higgins Quays Barth and Partners were the historic preservation consultants for the 80 Washington Place project. Marmal Radziner, the architects, are also on the Zoom in case there are any questions that come up.
Just a little slower. It's not.
Of course.
Microphones.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So 80 Washington Place is located in the Greenwich Village Historic District between Washington Square Park and 6th Avenue. The building was originally constructed in 1839 as a Greek Revival row house. You can see it here. It was developed speculatively with 78 Washington Place, which you can also see here. In 1920, John Philip Sousa actually commissioned a redesign of the house, which was done by architect H.C. Volz. At this time, a floor was added to the top with this central window. The stoop was removed. A basement entrance was added with a pediment, and then the fence was also removed at that time. As you're very likely aware, this was part of a trend that was happening in the 19-teens and 1920s to sort of re-envision row houses that were constructed in the early and mid-19th century, which were considered out of fashion at the time. In 2009, there was a Landmarks approval to raise this entrance up to be at grade. Also at that time, a new fence was approved that matches the Greek Revival fence to the east at its neighbor. Also part of that 2009 approval was a glass railing at the front, a stair bulkhead and mechanical enclosure, and a rear yard addition. There's been a new owner since then, so this is a new owner's vision for the house, and the proposal is for modifications to the areaway and entrance to create more of a sense of arrival, and then a rooftop addition, which is mostly open air, and so we'll take a look at that in the coming slides. So here is the existing non-historic fence that was approved in 2009 that was designed to match the neighbor, which we see here. You can also see the neighbor at 78 Washington Place has these large brownstone newel posts that have these circular globes on top of them. And the goal of the proposed work at the front areaway is to redefine the entrance to have more of a sense of arrival and also to better relate to the existing altered facade. And thinking how to approach this, we looked at the historic stoop. So this is 80 Washington Place in the foreground. That was flanked by these paneled brownstone posts that originally had globes on top of them, as we see in the neighbor, but had already been removed at the time of this 1913 photo. We also looked to other altered row houses, specifically those defined as reborn. The houses in the Upper East Side and in the Village are part of this reborn typology. And since many of these houses removed their stoops, they had to sort of rethink how one separates the public sidewalk from the private entryways to create a new arrival experience. So sometimes this was done with masonry posts, as we see at these Frederick Sterner houses, and Frederick Sterner was the most famous architect of this period, looking to envision the mid-19th century row houses. We also see smaller paving that also delineates the public sidewalk from the private entryway. Looking at reborn compositions in the Village, or with Washington Mews on the left being the largest concentration of reborn houses. We can see from the historic photo when this group of stables was re-envisioned by Weineke and Frank, they added gates seen here that separated the public from the private with these big masonry pillars with lanterns on the top to have a sense of arrival. And then at a more modest scale on 115 West 11th Street, we see a simple picket iron fence with masonry piers. And then behind the fan lights on either entrance, there are lanterns that also add to sort of the sense of arrival with a bit of a glow. So here's existing on the top, proposed on the bottom. The proposal is to remove the non-historic fence and to install a new fence that's more simplified in design and relates better to the 1920s redesign. The fence is slightly—
Please enlarge the proposed.
Of course.
One of it.
Yes. So here is the
Good, thank you.
Proposed elevation. So it is slightly taller than the existing fence and includes iron railing with 2 cast stone piers tinted to match the brownstone and 2 gas lanterns on top of it. And this is to distinguish it and better relate to the existing architecture. Just some details. So this is the fence design simplified, but also sort of hues towards a foliated expression, done in iron, painted black. And then the cast stone pier tinted to match brownstone will have that reveal similar to the newel post that we saw in the historic photo, but more elegantly proportioned for the new composition. And then a simple gas lantern sitting on top of each pillar. In terms of the areaway paving itself, we're going to infill these 2 existing skylights, which were added in the 2009 work, have bluestone pavers and a running bond. And then for that transition into the private space, we're proposing a herringbone pattern with bluestone, again, smaller scale, sort of, cueing a more intimate private space as one enters through the threshold. And here are just some inspiration images of what that would look like, as well as the detailing of how it works with the non-historic step. Again, in 2009, this was all raised. So all of this fabric is non-historic at the door. Then going to the rooftop addition, these are existing photos of the roof. Here's the front of the roof. So there's a glass railing at the front. There's a wooden fence at the side that we're proposing to replace with the glass railing. And then there is an existing stair bulkhead that extends to here. And then the rest is a mechanical enclosure. There's also an existing kitchen area and then a fence that runs across the back. So the proposal is primarily for an open air rooftop addition that starts at the end of the sloping part of the stair bulkhead. So there's a skylight that runs across the roof, and then this part is open air, and then there's one enclosed space for a bathroom at the back of the house. And we'll look at these in elevation. So this is all existing, the stair bulkhead and the mechanical enclosure, and then new skylights that run across, open air space, and then one bathroom at the back. In plan, existing on the left, proposed on the right. So skylights start after the slope of the bulkhead, and the existing skylights are removed from the stair bulkhead and relocated to the top of it here. And then this is the volume of the new addition. And then cut lower, like I said, it's open air. So when you cut the section lower, the only enclosed space is the small bathroom in the back. And then this is all open air, so you don't see it in this lower cut section in plan. An elevation, so here is the existing glass railing in the front, the existing bulkhead on the left, and then the new skylight expression that runs across the top, the structure for which is here on the right side. And there's a tall apartment building to the side, so this is all snug against that wall. And then a side elevation looking west, the existing wooden fence would be replaced with a new glass railing, and then what you're seeing come up above the stair bulkhead are those new skylight structures. Going to the back of the house, so there's an existing approved rear yard extension, as I mentioned, and there's already a fence that extends on top of the parapet at the back. And the proposal is to replace this fence with the new bathroom enclosure seen here, the open air structure, which runs across, noted in the darker gray, and then the mechanical enclosure, which will remain a mechanical enclosure, will just be reclad from the wood to a stucco finish. This was all mocked up, is not visible at all from along Washington Place. And then we also did, what's it called? A photo montage of the glass railing so you could see it. So the existing glass railing is here. So we just took that look and then returned it on the side. This is the existing view of the wood fence. So that's the new glass railing on the side. And then there's one very minimal view of the addition from deep in Washington Square Park. So you can see the site plan here. This is the only place where we were able to see the mock-up, and so we photo montaged what that would look like when it is constructed, and it's just very teensy bit of visibility. And that's it. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Chanel, do you have anything?
No, Susan, I don't.
All right, I have one question for you, which is how much taller is the proposed fence than the existing?
It's 8 inches taller.
And what is the reason for that?
I mean, in part, there's a practical reason for it. There are people living in the areaway right now, but I think also from an appropriateness perspective, when the house was reborn, it did have a break, like it no longer had a fence. There was no longer a continuous fence between its neighbors to the east and west. So we feel there's an appropriateness argument for having something that extends above sort of that datum that was broken with the original reconstruction of the front facade of the house.
Is it different only in that it's taller?
I'm sorry?
Is the gate in front of the entryway different from what it exists only in that it's taller?
No, it's a different design. It's a simplified design because the existing fence from 2009 was replicated to match the Greek Revival that's at 78 Washington Place, which never existed with this facade. So it was sort of a false history. So the new design is more 1920s simplified, so that it relates better to the house.
I can't see it.
Oh, here, yes.
Is there a drawing of it?
Yes, so it's.
Oh, so it basically doesn't have spikes in that detail.
American Indian.
Oh, it does have spikes.
Yes, it has spikes and it has like a V shape underneath. I can show you a reference photo if that would be helpful.
It is, and not a lethal.
And Chenault, just to be clear, it's not just the gate that's taller, it's the fence as well, Chenault.
Yes, the whole fence is taller.
I'm just the lights or the support looks rather handsome and does serve to show that's the entrance, but I just there's something wrong about the lights.
Yeah.
Along on either side of the door. I think if they were just moved back up to their more natural position, it looks a little bit like a park or something. It's just strange.
Well,
Anita, please.
Did you provide any historic reference for the gas lantern newel posts, I'll call them?
So, I mean, we don't have an exact installation that has this, but a part of our appropriateness argument is the idea that all of these reborn row houses sort of have their own identity. There's no consistent treatment to the front areaways. I mean, we looked.
But that specific design is not available in the neighborhood.
No, it is totally unique.
And it's also, I just want to point out to the committee that to have a light fixture in the front areaway, which I kind of like, but it's very, very unusual. I think maybe on 23rd Street is one of the few places I can think of, and certainly not on a secondary street. So I would say we could talk about that in committee. And what year was this house built?
So it's originally an 1838 house, and then it was redone in 1920.
All right, but it's an 1830s row house. I mean, this is a simple row house.
Well, it got a big forehead and a new base in 1920.
These are
this is the original house, and then this is how it was re-envisioned in 1920.
Well, in 1920, it wasn't fashionable to have this type of building anymore, so they took off the ornamentation and they became very chic, and then it came back in fashion. So yeah,
and they became individualized. It was every owner's own vision for the row house. It became like something speculative.
I think you're exaggerating that. There's a couple of typography.
Okay, could we then move on from that?
Yeah. Oh, it's not every man for himself.
Talk about that. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think. Sorry, what, Chenault?
This entrance is the constant battle of having altered a building to the way it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be like the one on the left in the picture, and when the modifications are done, there's always some sort of compromise in logic and in aesthetics and in proportion, like the tiny window that's always ends up above is this case. So it's a question of how we deal with a situation where it can't be a perfect modification.
And, we'll talk about this in business session, but there's also always the discussion of individuality and eclecticism not being a blank check for things that are without reference entirely. That there's variety without a totally overreaching kind of eclecticism. But we'll talk about that in our business session, and we'll go to the public now. Pete?
I'm sorry, I have one more question that I didn't see. The aerial way that is not bluestone is in what material?
The one that exists now,
Which is what?
it's like a poured concrete with like a brownstone tint to it.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. Susan, when you're ready for the public.
Okay, Pete, go ahead, please.
Yes, the two lamps that are proposed for the gate, those are powered by gas and will be a live
Yes.
flame?
Yes, they are proposed to be gas. DOB has not indicated any objections to having gas lanterns.
Okay, thank you.
And like the cigarettes. They're nice and low.
Thanks, Pete. Anybody else? Any other members of the public? Okay, seeing none,
Okay.
We'll say thank you to you, Sarah, and we'll move on.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see what's next. Next is 405 West 13th Street. To legalize existing signage at the transom, existing bracket signage under the canopy, existing pendant lighting, existing spot lighting, existing flag banners, and replace existing metal canopy with translucent canopy. I gather this means to replace the covering of the canopy, and this will come out. When you're ready, please.
Okay, I just unmuted myself. My name is Cynthia A. I'm the architect representing the tenant in this space. This is a retail building that was built, converted from a cold storage warehouse, originally arts and crafts from the early 1900s, converted in around 2010 to 2021 to a commercial retail building. This is the current condition and facade of the retail space. It's separated into two different brands. One is Sandro, one is Maj. It's the same tenant and owner, but with two different brands. And they have different separate signage for both brands, one for Sandro on the right side and one for Maj. I'm going to the next page. It's located between 9th Avenue and Washington Street in the historic district. And here's an overview, satellite maps showing the location. Here's the tax photo showing the condition prior to the renovation to become a commercial retail building. This is an image from 2009 during the construction or change. This is from 2021 when it was converted. And here we have several conditions that are existing that are non-compliant, which we would like to legalize. One is the two existing now transom signs that normally is approvable through staff level if it's halo lit. However, the way it was manufactured and installed onto the transom glass, it made it appear to be an edge-lit condition, but in fact, it was meant to be a halo-lit condition where it's a back halo. But because of the acrylic and plastic that was utilized to attach to the glass, there is more acrylic than needed, that was necessary, which made it appear to have edge-lit rather than the halo condition that would be approvable staff level. Here is the shop drawings, and they had proposed in this section, as I was saying, it was supposed to be halo lit. However, their construction of it made it, they have these acrylic pads, VHP taped to windows. And once on site, they discovered that it didn't work the way it was originally proposed. And so they had to make these acrylic pads thicker, and therefore change the compliant condition of a halo lit sign on the transom. And here's the Maj one, which is the same issue with the acrylic pads taped to the windows, which became one solid acrylic piece. The next condition that we like to legalize are the bracket signs, which are suspended from the existing canopy. Normally, these are approvable by a staff level if they comply with the exact dimensions of 24-inch, max 36-inch long. However, these are 4 inches longer than what's written in a staff level code. What happened was the client matched the sign that you see beyond the Maj, the Bumble and Bumble. They were trying to match that same dimension, which is also non-compliant at 40 inches long. So both our signs, the Maj and Sandro, are 40 inches long rather than the maximum 36. And then the other non-compliant install condition are pendant lights and spotlights that were installed. They're installed underneath the black painted canopy, and they are black.
Before you move on from the lights, this is a spotlight, I gather, that's mentioned in the application.
Correct. These are the
For the top.
spotlights.
What do
Yeah.
they light?
They like the bracket signs that are underneath this
okay.
canopy. So we have one on each side of the bracket signs, or so there's 4 in total. So one shining on both sides of the sign. So there's 4 total. And this is how it was connected. It was attached to the pendant lights with utilizing the same power source to minimize conduit and junction boxes. And then the other non-compliant condition are these flag banners, 2 for Sandro and 2 for Maj, that were utilizing the existing banner pole posts that were in the tax photo. But I couldn't find any photos that show actual flag, just the posts. If I may go back to the tax photo, there you can see if you zoom in, they were existing. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 8 of them. And we're utilizing 4 of them for flags. Let me go back to the banners. So the flags, there's those 2 flags that are for each brand. And so those are the end of the non-compliant conditions that we want to present to the commission. The last item is the existing canopy, which is existing condition that we want to add and propose, which is to, if you see in the back, this is a condition we inherited. There are translucent panels on just one bay at the back near the storefront, and the rest of the canopy are metal panels that make the area underneath very dark. So proposal is to replace the whole canopy with these translucent panels, so they all will be consistent and match.
You're simply speaking about the roof of the canopy, right?
Correct, just the
Not
roof,
changing
just the metal corrugated aluminum that you see in this picture. So there's two different materials right now that are existing that we had, the client had inherited, which is that back area, which had translucent panels. And then the rest of it was corrugated aluminum panels. Not sure what happened and when this occurred, but it was existing when the tenant occupied the space. Here's the existing canopy section, and it is confirmed that the pendant lights conform with the requirements of the heights above the sidewalk at greater than 10 feet. It's at 11'3". And here's a close-up of the bracket signs with the spotlights and pendants on each side. You see one on each side of it. And here you have a good view of the metal corrugated panels underneath. And here's a large photo of the area of the canopy that has already some translucent panels, which we like to replace the whole canopy, or make the area underneath the canopy much lighter. And then I found in the neighborhood a representative example of translucent canopy at 440 West 14th Street. And they have the entire way, it's all completely translucent. You can't really tell from this picture, so I zoomed in and you can see that it is also translucent canopy panels on a landmark building. And the last is some adjacent building photos with, this is across the way on the same block. This is across the street at South 405 West 13th. They also have canopy with pendant lights and some spotlights.
Presumably approved.
I haven't checked if they were approved for this building. And then the last page is the as-built elevation, confirming that the bracket signs at the moment are all installed installed above the required 10 foot above the sidewalk. So as installed, the heights, we are co-compliant with the clearances, as well as the transom signs do not protrude further than the facade. So this is all the existing conditions that are non-compliant. And that's my presentation.
I'd like to ask about the violation. I'm sorry, are you finished?
Yes, I'm done.
With respect to the, we don't need to go back to the picture. Respect to the lettering, is it simply the look that is before us, or are they objecting to the way that it's fastened?
They're objecting to the way it's fastened because it makes it appear to be edge lit rather than halo lit. If it's halo lit, you don't see the acrylic that are at the back of the letters. So staff level, if they follow the rule of the code, so they said this appears to be edge lit because there's plastic that's visible at the side of or the back of the letters.
Right. Well, as a practical remedy, there is that's the line that goes across between the letters. Is that a tiny mullion?
Yes, it is a tiny mullion.
So that a practical solution would be to put a metal bar across there and attach them to it.
I think it's very tiny, and it would I'm not sure. Let me see if I have a zoom in of that
But the point
sign.
is that they're fastened to to the
Yeah.
to the window, and we want to get them away from being fastened to the window. Yeah, okay, that's clear. Okay. I see.
Yes.
Okay. Do you all have any questions? And I'm going to look through mine.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. First, I want to explain to the applicant that when we review things with the thought of legalization, that we apply a very uniform standard, that standard being, would we have approved this had it appropriately come to us? So that is how we approach these kinds of matters. I'm concerned, you mentioned at the beginning that the halo light signage was approvable at staff level, but did you actually have an approval?
It was, so other than the banner signs, it was part of a package that was submitted at staff level. And it would have been approvable if it was installed correctly. However, it was discovered that modifications were made.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I understand that it would have been approvable. My question to you was it approved?
No, because it was part of an overall package and there was objections to the corrugated replacement of the corrugated aluminum metal panels.
So it was not approved.
It was not
initially.
completed.
And then it was fabricated, not the way you intended it to be. But the first step was that it wasn't approved. So the errors in fabrication are kind of second step to this. Okay.
Correct.
And regarding the errors in fabrication, or just regarding the fabrication, I know that these signs have a certain dimension. There's a certain size, there's a certain dimension to how far that they can
yes. So
protrude. And my question to you, it occurs to me looking at these images that there may be another element to this, which may be that the signs may be simply too fat. Is that part of it or not?
No, that was actually reviewed at staff level and okay as a comment. So we had adjusted it so that they're not so fat and doesn't protrude beyond the brick.
Okay, so they're within
the frame, yeah.
Okay.
Of the building.
Great, and also regarding
all this is that these various elements that were outlined are before us because there's a violation of whatever's happened in the past.
Yes.
And to cure the violation, there must be a public hearing, and that's what's happening.
Yes.
Also the banners, it's 4 banners that we're talking about here?
Yes.
2 for each tenant. Okay. Do you have other examples of banners in the district with that shape?
I haven't found any, unfortunately, with that shape.
Okay.
It's a triangular shape, which is not typical, I know.
Right. I can't recall seeing any. That's why I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen any. This is a different.
I would further ask to that, are there any examples of them being hung, sticking out from the canopy in this way? I say that because I can't recall any, and it has a little bit of a temporary installation for a fair look, rather than something that really unites with the building. So if you have some examples.
Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find any examples in the area with this flag condition.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anita, do you
have no more questions?
All right, Anita does.
No, I just wanted to say I really understand why you want to replace the transparency of the roof. I just hope that it's not such a cheap material that it's, not going to look so good. So I would just say that if you can grade up, that would be better.
I agree, I agree. I agree. It should
They
be.
look very flimsy, the ones you showed us. They look like you could just bite off a piece, you know?
Yeah, I agree. It should be a high-end material that matches the brand because Central Homage is a high-end brand.
Okay, well, we'll come up with wording on that then.
You didn't consider redoing the,
Are you finished with your questions?
no,
Does the public have any comment?
he's finished with me. That's all right.
No, did you have something else? Okay, yeah. Valerie, and then we'll go to the public.
My question wasn't, please tell me if this got addressed because I got distracted, is, can you address why you need to have a spotlight on the hanging sign when there's lit signage in the window?
It's because it's under the dark canopy and people walking perpendicular or parallel to the storefront can't see the lit signage above the transoms.
And then okay, sorry, go ahead. Is that it? Okay.
That was it.
Okay, so because of the dark, because we're making a choice to not be transparent on the top with the dark.
Well, at night it's dark.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think most of them do.
Okay.
But it just so the sign has a little. I just wanted to point out on this project, by the way, I worked on a building on this block, so I went up and down that block many, many, many times. And the storefront infill that you have on your property is beautiful. It's really nicely done, high quality. So I think everything you add or subtract should be of that quality. It really is very well done. I would think that this would be a good opportunity maybe to rethink the lighting a little bit. It's so, you know, in a way it's kind of nice because it's so basic. It's almost too basic. So that's it. With everything else we can talk later. Public?
Okay, we'll move to the public now. I think Pete, yeah.
Hi, yeah, you might recall that, a year or so ago, Saint Laurent came to the committee seeking to replace the corrugated metal top of their canopy with a translucent. But the problem that occurred there was all sorts of conduit and other things on top of the corrugated metal that would become visible if it was replaced with something that you could see through. We've gotten no information from the applicant what the situation is on this canopy. I think that warrants some concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The next application is 57 Christopher Street to remove all existing brick masonry at the south facade from the ground first floor through the third floors, properly repair and waterproof the backup masonry, and replace with new face brick to match the LPC approved brick at the ongoing restoration of 55 Christopher Street. Is the applicant on and ready?
Should be.
Oh, okay.
It's been upgraded to panels.
The materials and the correspondence had a great deal to do with history, which is not important to what we are now. If you could please confine the presentation to exactly what I read, unless I've left out something you're going to do. How we got to this point is not material to this discussion. Thank you.
Hi, yeah, my name is Kevin. Sorry about my camera not working right now, but I'd like to say just a few brief things about the history. I won't go into it too much. 57 Christopher, it's an ongoing restoration project right now. Our firm, along with the client, has diligently upheld this entire area. Currently, we've worked on 51 Christopher, 53, 55 through 61, and have been maintaining the facades in an ongoing restoration campaign. Originally, we started out with just spot brick replacement and removal of this light coating that's existing at the facade. It is our guess that these buildings were built at the same time and designated at the same time, but they had 3 different facade treatments at the time of designation, one with no coating, one with a stucco, and we suspect that this building had a stucco coating previously on it that was subsequently removed and replaced with this light coating. Our scope included some light power washing of the facade, and once that happened, it was observed that there was no mortar. And essentially now, since the light power washing has occurred, we've been getting substantial leaks at the facade. So we've gone from proposing this approximately 50% brick replacement to a 100% brick replacement because the brick has been deemed unsalvageable. The brick facing is completely gone, and so is the mortar joints, and it's leading to a slew of issues that are currently in place. We are proposing to replace it with the brick that is approved by landmarks for 55 Christopher, because it is reasonably assumed that these were the same face bricks to begin with. So to maintain consistency, and after going through the rigorous landmarks sample approval process, this is the sample that they chose. So we would like to uphold that and continue in our restoration by keeping that same brick. And that's essentially the bulk of what we have to offer.
Okay, Chenault, do you have any questions? You're muted, Chenault.
I don't have.
No, okay, Anita. Yes, I'm curious. So you're saying to replace 100% of the face brick only, right?
Correct.
And then you would repair the backup brick to make it solid before you attach the face, if it will, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we would be properly preparing the backup and adding a waterproofing level layer, and then.
What kind of, why would you do that in the brick?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Why would you add, where would you add waterproofing and why?
We would parge the backup and then add a liquid waterproofing level just to protect the interior from additional leaks that may occur.
Do you have a detail? I don't really understand why you would be waterproofing that.
I mean, it would be concealed, so it would be like we would be parting the backup and then doing a layer of.
What layer would it be? I'm asking specifically. You must know, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would be right beyond this is a 3-way wall, so we'd be doing protecting of the backup, the second white right before the face brick.
Well, I know that's how we do it in, today's world. I just don't know if you're going to be creating other problems by sealing up the backup brick. So
yeah, I understand the concern. I mean, because there's no existing waterproofing right now, I wouldn't be too concerned about trapping any moisture within the wall or creating any undue stress on the interior surfaces. This is strictly just a protective layer.
Okay, and one other question about the bricks.
Mm-hmm.
Are they all uniform in color?
Yeah, I mean, these are pretty uniform in color. Candidly, it's very difficult to tell on this facade because the face of the brick has been substantially worn away or taken off when they potentially took the stucco off. But based on our assumption that these buildings being built together, and having the same materiality at the north and south, it's reasonable to assume that this is a more homogeneous look than what we're getting right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, anybody from the public? No, Chanel, you skipped over 62 Prince.
I beg your pardon.
Yes, Joshua, we're ready for you. I'm going to promote you to panelist so you can share your screen.
Oh, it was moved to last.
Oh, it was.
It's the next application.
It's
Oh,
here
that's-
on the last.
As the last, it's not on the, oh, I see. I'm looking at a different agenda. Okay.
All right, thank you.
62 Pred Street, application to replace existing storefront and windows, installs ascending seam metal roof, install then branded signage, including both blade and halo lit roof and facade mounted logo signs, and linear downlighting on the menu, and sculpture. Construct new glazed patio enclosure to the west of the gable volume, and install new metal planters and fences along Prince Street.
Yes, good evening. Let me share my screen and we will jump right into it.
It was not absolutely clear. This is the being just now taken over by the establishment.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
There was something.
I don't seem to have the share button. Sorry, apologies. What is the malfunction here? Share. There we go. Sorry about that. So yes, this is the application for 62 Prince Street in Soho for the Ray-Ban house. And we have a lot of slides, so I'll try and move quickly and keep it to the topics that Chenault has described at the beginning of this meeting. So the project description is for an existing building at 62 Prince Street. It lies within the Soho Cast Iron Historic Extension District. That's a correction that should be in here. And to the exterior, it really consists of minor upgrades to the roofing, the storefront at street level, as well as a few windows on the two-story volume you can see on the left here. Additionally, we'll be installing a new glazed patio enclosure that's not pictured in this rendering, but you'll see it in the next following slides. So you can see here our project location highlighted in yellow on the left map here. We're just near the edge of the extension district located on the corner of Prince and Lafayette. And to the right, you'll see this building has had a long history, built in the 1940s as a cafe and restaurant, and then converted later in the 1940s to a garage and fueling station. So over the decades, it's been different types of garages, but always automotive related up until about 2004-ish, when a addition was built onto the front of it, which you'll see in the photo on the bottom there from 2010. That's when that two-story volume was built, as well as the main gabled volume that faces towards Prince Street. And as Chanel mentioned, yes, this building has been vacated recently. So we have our existing site plan here showing the existing building on the left and the proposed revisions on the right. So largely the same. The existing patio does have an enclosure that was not permitted that will be taken down and replaced with a new glazed enclosure on the top and on the street facing side. We're proposing to close in the existing skylights with a new roof and also cap a few of the masonry caps with metal. You can see on the north side here and on the south side, the building is kind of bordered by two different billboards as well. To look at the existing floor plan, right now it's essentially vacant. The landlord has fully gutted the space, so we're left with an interior shell. As far as the exterior goes, you can see the existing kind of canted or slanted storefront that faces Lafayette Street. And on the Prince Street side, there is an existing, I'll call it concrete or masonry planter that has a wrought iron fence with a gate. And the proposed floor plan, as far as the storefront replacement is concerned, we're proposing to go back in the exact same location that the current storefront is in, just with an updated glazing and storefront system. So that would go for both the Lafayette Street side as well as the Prince Street side. The existing planter is in pretty tough shape at this point, so we're proposing to replace it with a masonry clad planter similar to what's there now, and then also replace the existing wrought iron fence with a new black metal fence. I should mention also on the second floor here, you'll see we're proposing to put in storefront windows. That's a bit of a misnomer. Essentially, what we would be proposing is to replace the existing double hung windows with divided light windows that give the appearance that they're double hung. The east elevation that faces Lafayette Street, you can see the existing above, very long stretch of glazing along the street side. And in our proposed below, you can see we're going back with glazing essentially in the same location as it was before. There's an existing brick masonry recess on the two-story volume. And what we're proposing is to infill that with a black tile and a polished metal sculpture. So we're not going to be making dimensional changes to that existing recess. We're just going to be occupying that existing location. So another rendered view of the Lafayette Street elevation, and then a few contextual examples that kind of get to what we're proposing to here. And we're trying to show that we're not going too far out of what's already been approved inside the district. Moving on to the north elevation or the Prince Street elevation, you can see again, there's an existing excuse me, span of storefront with 3 operable doors. We're proposing to infill that existing location with a new storefront, add some additional signage, as you can see here, and a blade sign here, as well as the metal coping cap on some of the masonry caps that I was referencing earlier. You can also see the existing enclosure above the patio. It's kind of hard to read in this image, but essentially it's a large plexiglass and thin aluminum frame, something that was temporary, but it's been there for quite some time at this point. We're proposing to replace that with a low slope glazed patio enclosure at the roof and clear foldable glazing at the streetscape. Here you'll see a rendered elevation at the Prince Street side. You can see the patio enclosure a little bit more clearly here. I do want to mention that the enclosure behind the billboard here is existing, and we're replacing the existing wall that's there and re-enclosing that space as a function for this building. And a couple more examples to just show that we are working and attempting to pay attention to the context of what we're proposing here. A few building sections to show what's existing. So we're cutting through the main volume that faces out towards Lafayette Street with the existing slanted storefront, or angled storefront rather, and how we are proposing to go back in the same location. You can also see the difference between the height of the existing patio enclosure and what we're proposing. We're proposing something that's a little bit lower and more closely aligns with the existing roof eave line. We have a section cutting essentially north-south, looking into the patio on the right and the main lounge space on the left-hand side. And here you can see a little bit more about what we're proposing to do for the planter and the fence and its relationship to the patio enclosure. I can zoom in for a little bit better reference here. Now, to talk a little bit more about the storefront, we have our existing storefront detail here. You can see it has a strong grid appearance with many mullions, both vertical and horizontal. What we're proposing is to go with a butt glazed or a single glazing pane system. So that will minimize the amount of vertical and horizontal mullions that you'll see on the facade. We're also proposing to go back, or the client has requested that we utilize ballistic glazing or riot-proof glazing to protect the contents of this store. Now to talk about the windows on the 2-story volume up here. So we would be replacing the existing double hung windows, aluminum, non-insulated double hung windows for a storefront style or a divided light window with an intermediate horizontal mullion. The proposal also includes some diffuse lighting on the inside of the window to help illuminate the space. To talk a little bit more about the patio enclosure, here is the existing alleyway enclosure that I spoke to before, as well as the existing temporary patio enclosure. So what we're proposing is something a bit more robust and a bit more permanent that would really help to enclose this outdoor patio space when the weather permits. The foldable wall here could tuck into the wall here, and this patio would then be open to the streetscape. And you can see again the relationship of the planter and the fence with relationship to the patio space, as well as the patio enclosure overall. Part of our proposal is to update some of the exterior lighting. So what we are proposing is to have a linear light that would downwash over the existing recess on that 2-story volume, where we're proposing to install a matte black porcelain tile with a polished metal sculpture. And you can see some details here about a shroud that would be constructed to essentially hide that light fixture from view and how it might cast the light down the facade. And we are also proposing to add another smaller linear light over a menu board that would be attached to the Prince Street facade. So this being a restaurant previously and historically, this menu board has been there, and we're proposing to go back with a new menu board for the new function of this building. So to talk a little bit more about the patio, we're proposing to include some accent patio lighting inside of the planter that would essentially highlight the fence and the patio enclosure beyond, as well as any plantings that we might have within that planter. Additionally, inside of the enclosure, we have some downlighting, which you can see in section here, is integrated within the structure above and really just serves to illuminate that enclosed patio area. Also proposed is a few sconces on the back wall of the patio to further enhance the mood in that patio. Overall, we wanted to share a night rendering so we could really drive home what we're proposing here for our exterior lighting on general on each facade. So in the east facade, you can see the diffused lighting at the 2nd-story windows that I mentioned, as well as the linear light that would shine light down and over that existing recess. And on the north facade, it's a little bit small, so I'll zoom in. You begin to see the small linear light over the menu board, as well as an internally illuminated blade sign and some facade mounted signage. And you can see the soft lighting within the patio enclosure here as well. Wanted to show the signage in a little bit more detail. So all of these signs have been designed and thought through to meet all the regulations that we must for the historic district as well as for New York City in general. So the illumination source has been hidden from view, and the dimensional aspects of it meet the requirements that we must. Additionally, we have an internally illuminated blade sign, which that illumination source is hidden within the bracket. So it would essentially shine down over or wash over the blade sign, if you will. And then we have a proposed non-illuminated plaque on our new fence as well outside of the patio enclosure. To talk a little bit more about that existing recess and what we're proposing there, you can see how on the right-hand side, how we're proposing to mount our polished metal sculpture within that existing recess. Once that recess is clad with some matte black porcelain panels, We would like to choose a large format there to keep the amount of joints down. And then the existing brick facade would remain around it as well as the concrete base. And above you can see we have our divided light windows with the existing concrete lintels above that are wrapped in metal. And a few interior renderings are included here just to give a flavor as to what is going on inside the building as part of our exterior renovation as well. So here you can see the sculpted lounge, which really faces more towards the Lafayette Street side and the Prince Street. And the Oak Lounge is more hidden from view and a little bit further recessed into the building volume. And I wanted to say thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Chanel, why don't you start?
Could you go back to the first drawing of the lighting about page 18? I think I tried to remember. Yeah, the full facade.
The sheet?
The full facade rendering.
Oh, yes, yes.
There. Okay. First, this profile, is this something that's built behind the behind the glass?
The sculpted form?
Well, it shows more clearly in the non-lighted one, but if you look on the right-hand window that goes sort of like a hill and dale. And what makes that irregularity?
Yeah, the irregularity that you're seeing there, it's a product of the rendering really, but the form that's inside of the existing volume will be fabricated out of wood ribs essentially, and then the outside would be skinned with plaster and then painted. So all of that is existing within the space. And
So
also
it's a frame behind the glass.
Correct, yes. And so in our just to flip back quickly, as we were looking closely at the storefront details and the position of this kind of volume within a volume, we paid really close attention to the LPC guidelines about vitrines and the distance from the glazing to any obstructions behind it. And we also were very careful to look at the percent of openness so that we didn't occlude the view through the glass at street level.
So there's more depth in the rendering actually.
Correct, yes.
And if you go back to the lighting one we had, I want to go forward from that.
Sure.
Okay, now the next one. Next plate. The upper one is lit. You said softly or something. How are these?
I'm sorry?
Are these interior lit or?
They are halo lit per LPC guidelines, so the lighting source would be behind the panel.
And the lower one?
And the lower one, the same approach.
Okay.
Yep.
So these two are halo lit, and
correct.
The sign and the others are cove lighting, as it were.
Yes. Essentially, the other portions of the facade where we would light the menu board or our sculpture are a linear kind of wall wash.
And then the one on the fence is not lit, you said. Okay, I've got it.
Yes, correct.
Susan, go ahead, and I'll pick up on it.
Okay, I have a question about the east facade being the part of the east facade, the sculpture lounge, which is just fully glazed. I mean, it just appears to be a big window system, right? And
correct.
What can you cite in a historic district where there are buildings that are completely glazed like that with no masonry or stone or that are seamless? It doesn't look like anything that is within the vocabulary of the historic district. And I'm wondering what you can cite there.
Yeah, that is fair to say. In my travels around the district looking for contextual examples, we did find some that do have large glazing panels. However, at this scale, I wasn't able to find any. But we
Yeah.
do think that there is some relationship to the few examples that we have shown here, especially to the one at 9395 Worcester, which is really more of a curtain wall approach. And they've kind of celebrated the glazing butts and the connections at the corners as kind of part of the design of the facade. For this proposal, the design really wanted to provide as much viewing as possible so that you could perceive the volume within the existing volume.
Yeah, no, I have no trouble understanding why you wanted to continue your internal expression externally. That much is clear. But
Right.
I don't really see the contextual examples as being truly contextual. But we'll talk about that in our business session. I was just wondering what your process was.
Okay.
And I think you've answered it. Thank you.
I'd like to add to that. And did you have examples where there is simply no bulkhead?
As far as a kind of a top datum line to the storefront?
No, a bulkhead at the bottom.
Like a
Here.
raised still.
A solid piece of.
We're the only ones who.
So in this case, actually, what we're proposing to do at the existing two-story volume, we have a masonry base.
I understand that, but
Yep.
with whatever you're doing behind the glass, is there an example of not having a bulkhead?
Not in our context images here, no.
Okay, and I would say the same goes. What we're invited to do here is look at essentially a pavilion that happens to have glass around it, and we're trying to resolve the pavilion look with anything else that makes some sort of historic connection.
I understand. Okay.
Valerie.
Yes, my comment is, the organic, shapes shown here and the coldness of the steel looking silver. But my initial thought when I see this is Gaudi. It's more it's like Art Nouveau and Neo-Gothic comes into this here that to the point here, I just don't see, it's like this modern organic form that it feels very much influenced by someone like Gaudi and like a Neo-Gothic and Art Nouveau style notes here that just seems discordant with the historic district. That's just my comment.
Okay.
Is that a metallic finish on that sculptural element?
In this rendering, yes, it would be a painted on fluid applied metallic finish.
But it is metallic paint, yes?
The idea is that it would have sheen. Metal, I cannot say for 100%, but that it would have a sheen to it, yes.
Okay, thank you. Anita?
This is a very unusual starting point. The building is unusual. It's sort of humble in a very real way. It really always reminded me of a garage-y kind of repair place. But I think you've completely taken away that character. And it now looks to me like something, you'd see in a mall or something. I mean, I don't mean to say it quite like that. It's a lot of effort. I'm not saying it isn't, but it just looks inappropriate for it's such a modest little building, and you created this really big sci-fi experience. And I don't think they're compatible.
Okay.
All right, well, unless you have anything, let's go to the public.
I would like to speak more about the lighting.
Oh, yes, good.
We know the numbers of elements of it. The result of this is going to be a beacon on the corner with every possible, including the two tiny windows above the sculpture. And the sculpture is going to be extremely bright with any light on it. And then the windows, and then around the corner, it just is going to look like a spaceship landed in the middle of the historic district. And there is nothing to my recollection in Soho or NoHo that approaches the sort of zing that this is going to have, which may draw attention to the product, but is going to be really an intrusion.
I see. Yes, the proposal certainly is an individual one. And it is a bold statement within the existing building at 62 Prince Street. I do agree with you there, yes.
What that seems to be doing is a very deliberate denial of the historic district.
I could see how you would think that.
Right.
Right.
The historic building, but it's just way overly aggressive for the district.
I understand.
I think Anita had another question too.
Just a quick question. Is this a design branding type of thing, or is this one of a kind?
This is a one-of-a-kind project. There's no other project like this in the US or really in the world.
So
this
this isn't their organic phase, is it?
No, this is an individual design that was generated just for this proposal.
Okay,
thank you. Okay, anybody from the public?
Or one?
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, hi. Joshua, if you could let us know, are you with Colliers? Are you with Ray-Ban?
Yes, I'm sorry. I am with Colliers Engineering and Design. We are the North American designers for EssilorLuxottica, which is based out of Milan.
Okay, great. A few questions. The internally illuminated blade sign, that internally illuminated are two words that we don't like to put together in this part of the district. So just pointing that out, we've had a lot of discussion at this committee about that. So I would object to that. Could you, I have the surround of the two small windows on the larger portion of the building, that's a neon type or LED surround of the window, the red lighting?
It would be taped in LED that would be recessed into the enclosure on the inside, not neon. And I will say I actually misspoke. Internally illuminated, dirty word. We don't want to use that. What I should have said is the illumination source is hidden within the bracket. So it still would be casting a light in a similar fashion to our other lighting sources. And so that it's not as though this blade sign would be glowing. It's illuminated from a distinctly different source. So I just want to clarify that.
How big is that sign? How big is that sign?
It is 1'6" by 1'6" by 12 inches by 3 inches.
And if you could give us a clearer description of the patio area, how those movable things work and how open at its maximum will that patio area be?
Sure. Let me flip back to the plan to talk about it a little bit more. So the thick black line you see here is the line of the movable or foldable partition. We would have a fixed door in place here that would remain in place but would remain open during business hours. And so from, I'll doodle on here a little bit, from this line all the way to the alleyway enclosure, that portion of the wall would fold up and then tuck within a cavity built within the wall.
Okay, so it's from the top of the seating element it doesn't go all the way to the ground?
That's correct, yes. It sits on the seating element.
And the rooftop, does that open?
The roof does not. The roof is static.
Okay. And let's see, you've got two lounge areas that have a lot of seating, and I'm confused because it's Ray-Ban, so it's Ray-Ban retail or Ray-Ban let's have a drink?
It's both actually. So it's a little again, like I mentioned, this is a one of a kind store that we're proposing to do here. So 75% restaurant and food service, 25% retail. So that is how the existing building's certificate of occupancy is written right now. And we're proposing to continue with
Let's
that.
don't dwell on this, please. It's not something before us, so part of this.
Sure.
Retail, 75 restaurant.
I mean, my misunderstanding.
Are there other questions?
Do you want to ask about that? No, unless anybody else from the public has something to, oh, yes. Heather.
Hi. Good evening.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I apologize. There's a protest or a parade going by right now. So that is the background noise that I cannot control over
No worries.
right at the future site of Ray-Ban House, actually.
I see.
I live adjacent to the Ray-Ban House. I just had a couple of questions. The first question, of course, I think Mr. Davies has addressed it with the lighting in the what you're calling the second story window. I just want to bring to everyone's attention that this is a residential neighborhood. And while I don't live across street from this Ray-Ban house, I do, it's a residential building across the street. So if there's going to be red lights and bright lights, I do think that that will be objectionable to the neighbors across the street. I also wanted to mention that this structure, the Ray-Ban house, technically, you would refer to it a couple times as this being a two-story structure. It actually is a one-story structure with a mezzanine. So I just wanted to make that clarification that it's not a two-story structure. So, if the top floor was used for storage previously, and I know, so that's going to,
yes.
A change, I suppose, when you'll reach that when you get to the Department of Buildings in terms of making that space from storage to occupiable space as a bar or store. And did you say you were going to install, was it ballistic glass? Is that?
So ballistic glazing sounds so bad, but the idea is that it would be riot proof, so it couldn't be shattered or broken in order for somebody to gain entry in through the storefront. So it looks, feels, and performs just like typical glazing, but it's essentially laminated panels with interlayers that provide an extra layer of security.
Okay, and is that typical? I'm sorry, I'm not a storefront designer. Is that typical of a storefront to use like a ballistic type of glass, or is it something that's more common for, a different type of use, a bar use perhaps, or something?
Yeah, it's not as typical. I've run into it with several different retail clients that I've worked with over the years, but it's not something I do on every project.
Will the look of this opposite regular plate glass be perceptible?
No. And on the storefront page, I included a picture of what it looks like in front of a typical window. So you can see the different laminated layers here next to a window. So performs and allows the transmittance of light just like regular glazing does.
Yeah, something like you would see like at a Louis Vuitton maybe, or something like a higher end store.
That's correct, yes.
Where ballistic is required probably.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have a quick question. On page, let me just see what page, 19, the flush mounted halo lit illuminated sign.
Mhm.
This is 5 feet wide by 2'7". So
Correct.
it's a very big sign on a little tiny building. And the other one, the one on kind of, the other one is about the same size. The one that's on Lafayette.
That's correct. The proposed signage that we have here is comparable to the existing signage that exists on Lafayette Street. So we're not trying to exceed necessarily what's there now, nor do we want to attempt to exceed what is allowable by local regulations.
Thank you.
Thanks. I think you've already answered it, but I just want to double check that this ballistic glass is not any more reflective than any more standard kind of plate glass would be.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thanks for confirming that.
Mhm.
And
Could I ask one quick question?
yes, go ahead, Pete.
Okay, on the sculpture, is the idea that this is a unknown but permanent installation, or is this a rotating a space for rotating art installations?
The intent is that this is not a space that could have rotating displays put up. The initial proposal that we sent to LPC, we wanted to have a kind of branded panel in this location, but that was met with resistance. And so we wanted to utilize this as part of the facade, as well as a way to engage the public as they interact with the store on the streetscape. So the polished metal sculpture is intended to be permanent.
Okay. Thank
Permanent in the sense that you could take it off eventually, but we won't be rotating it out. I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, you don't care too much about it, I guess, because it's gonna get possibly damaged, you know, graffiti
Yes.
or otherwise.
Yes, we've heard similar feedback from the staff level review as well. And of course, that's a concern that we have, and we don't want to necessarily make a greater target for any unnecessary additional artwork on top of the sculpture.
Probably because, is it because you?
Okay.
Looking at this brings another thing to
Because
my
you opened the
attention.
pit?
Somebody's microphone is open. Perhaps somebody from the public. Could you check that, please?
Just a second, please, while we have this played up. What is the squiggly line that goes all around that looks like an extension cord?
This line here?
Yeah.
That is the outline of an existing tree. I tried to include it so we could see some context about the layers on the streetscape. So there's existing tree planters along Lafayette.
Okay. Susan, there's more?
No, unless anybody else from the public wishes to speak, and I don't see any raised hands. So I think that's it.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are you all okay to continue?
Sure.
Okay. Horatio Street, the new window.
Well, I apologize, but I didn't catch those.
I don't mind it. So Susan, you had
Well, you know, the sort
they
of
match vertically rather than horizontally. So
right, that does bother me. I think what they have going in their favor is that it's contained within, you know, a kind of,
it's kind of a sign ban position.
yeah. So I think, you know, if it weren't for that, I would have a stronger objection.
They're adding a window here?
Yeah.
It looks random. I mean, it looks less random because of that.
Yeah.
Mercer Street, flagpole and banner. We'll put in all of these provided that it meets all the requirements about size and position and so forth. And we want to call attention to the provided that it goes through the, I didn't understand why that was a question, into the mortar joints.
Yeah, I think we really need to make a thing about the mortar joints, because I didn't.
That's what I was just saying.
Yeah.
Gansevoort Street. This is so strange, that little area there. They were all ready to build the penthouse the next day. And I remember the rush to get it before us, and nothing's happened, which is going to considerably alter the way that sign's perceived.
Yeah.
I thought it odd that it was so long, but it's maybe kind of interesting that it disappears as you walk along at the bottom. But certainly the size, and all, again, with the disclaimer provided that.
On
Uh,
Bond Street.
uh, Valerie, I want to talk to you about it before it comes to us. It's the Ruby's Cafe. You'll remember it from our.
Oh,
What?
224 West 4th?
That 4th Street and 7th Avenue South.
Yeah.
I've looked at the application and I have some questions regarding the street cafe.
Okay.
You can be a.
I will add that to our list.
Oh, yours only deals with the road bed?
No, sidewalk and roadway.
Okay, we'll talk about it. You can.
Yeah. It was, and it was the first licensed sidewalk cafe in the new dining out program in CB2.
Okay.
Little Ruby's.
Oh, interesting.
Bond Street.
Well, I'm so sorry to see that American oleum ceramic tile sign gone. It's been there my whole life. And that was the tile everybody used back in the day.
Can you get somehow the mic?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, now you're better.
All right, I forgot. I said I'm very attached to that old sign. And I kept thinking, wow, that's the only building that hasn't been. So here we have a new street. They're calling it mezzanine only, right?
The multiple windows are maybe a little bit modern, but it's better than.
They do have something like that across the street, by the way, multi windows. Maybe it could be a few less. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And the ones there look more like attic windows than something near the front anyway. So we don't object to anything with it.
I don't know.
Washington Place.
Oh, this is the light fixture.
This is the gas lights in this sort of air set.
That's a disaster waiting to happen on many levels.
I really don't like the lights on the pole.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about, right?
It looks suburban or something, but it doesn't look like the village.
It really looks wrong because you wouldn't put a gas fixture at a child's head height. You know, there's many things about it. Anyway, there's no reference for that at all.
No, it looks like something.
What about the palace?
Home development in the suburbs.
It should not happen. Especially on a street like this, who they're so hyper, and with legitimately, you know, it's been a rough couple of seasons on Washington Place.
It has been.
They make sense, but as I looked at it and thinking of the streetscape, they don't make sense.
They don't make sense. No, they don't. We have streetlights. We don't need to have a carriage light out in the darkness. It's not that dark.
I know why they're doing it, but that doesn't make it. I couldn't see well enough to understand that the gate is anything traumatic. The change.
Well, they got rid of the Greek revival with the meander board and the acanthus leaf, and then put some lethal spears in, which I didn't care for. And they look very American Indian almost. It's not that I'm particularly hooked on the Greek revival fence, but what they put in, I think, was not. It looked very dangerous. I mean, if somebody wants to go in your little areaway, whatever.
Is there anything that we approve about? The bluestone is the other thing.
Anyway, let me just look at it again, yeah.
We approve the bluestone, having eliminated.
Yes.
Well, what are we saying about the gate then? Yes or no for the gate?
Well, it's not the gate itself that's the problem. It's the design and the height. They're increasing it by an odd amount. They're increasing the height, which, I don't know, does it align with the adjacent building?
It doesn't. I don't believe it does. We should double check that. I mean, this is an issue we've had before where people want to increase the heights of fences and gates, you know, as a security measure, obviously.
Which is not the point here. The point here was to highlight the entrance.
Right.
Think of any other examples that make an exception.
I can't
Where
either.
it's in a gate, where it's in a continuing.
And there is no fence there now. Yes, there is. Where's the Greek revival one then? I'm confused. They showed a Greek revival. Yeah, existing black iron gate and fence. Oh, it was put back later because they had it removed. That's what it was.
No, the current condition has this.
Yeah, that's when, and listen, those are very expensive fences.
It was only to modify the gate in front of the main entrance.
Why do you fix on the gate?
No,
the whole fence
also.
The whole fence is to be replaced.
Oh, I missed that. Sorry.
And it's going to be taller.
8 inches taller.
And we don't see any details. I don't know, people don't like to give us a lot of details. Why don't they have a curb or something that, I'm not clear on how this is detailed, by the way. It looks like it would be nice if it was on a little curb. There's no curb here. I would say.
Do we want to deny the replacement of the fence?
Yeah, so I think we should just deny it. And then,
so we essentially want to remain the way it is.
yeah, and we don't like,
yes,
we don't like what they're replacing with has nothing to do with this neighborhood. What they have now, this was a little modest Greek revival.
I've got all that into the whereases, and
Yeah,
then just
okay.
the phrase in the resolve part.
This is that book, I always forget his name, the guy who wrote from the 1820s. Okay, good. 13th Street.
Hey, we need to talk about the rooftop addition.
Oh.
Yes, that's the next.
But that was, I thought actually for once, we didn't have a big cantilever, which is good.
Right. No,
and it was actually molded to sort of minimize the visibility.
The upshot is it's very minimally visible.
Yeah, I say yay.
Great distance.
Yeah.
Yay. Yay to that. What else?
Remind me, what did we say about the bluestone?
It's fine, but I think there should be a curb. I don't think the detailing is any good. Are they gonna put it on top of the concrete?
So let's talk at the microphone, not my face.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't understand the bluestone in the areaway. Is that what is?
No, the bluestone was to go at the entrance to define it from the areaway.
Well, what the hell? Who can mistake that?
I don't
know what that means. I don't understand any of that.
There's bluestone everywhere in some, but I don't recall differentiating.
No, you don't. And also, I think if you install it, you have to recess it down, and we need a little more information. You know, usually these areaways have a curb. So if you put in a material, you know, you don't have exposed edges and stuff. So I don't think there's enough information here. But
Okay, so we're denying everything except the penthouse.
yeah, which is,
13th Street.
oh, that's.
The end is meant to look like the neighbor that's been remodeled with approval.
Excuse me, I just would like to back up to Washington Place for a moment and to the areaway. Just to be clear, what it is that there is that herringbone going in, but then the rest of the areaway is bluestone pavers.
Oh.
So it's not the concrete.
It's still the same. It's different in front of the.
Yeah.
And do we mind the difference? Do we continue to mind that it's different?
Well, I think bluestone pavers are appropriate, but I don't understand where this herringbone is. Is it outside of the fence? I don't know.
No, it's inside.
The words were to define the entryway. What page are you looking at, Susan?
It's page 11.
Oh, I see. Yeah. And what's the top picture? What is that top picture, this thing? The herringbone, bluestone. I've never seen anything like that. Bluestone is,
Oh, there it is, paver.
could be in a big slab. I mean, it's a humble material.
You know, I think part of the issue here is that it's clearly the intention here to create, a sense of arrival, a moment, right? That's clearly what they're going after, is to create a moment.
Well, like you run an area
The
road.
doorway itself is rather monumental.
That's not really part of the vocabulary.
And it can be done in different ways. I think you do that with, there's something missing in all of this, which is how do all of these things hang together with the fence, with the curb, with the changing materials. I don't think here it says bluestone soldier course step. That looks to me like a tripping hazard. In the same on page 11.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was not historic anyway, because the soup was removed.
Yeah.
Okay, yes or no for differentiating the area in front of the door? We have to decide something.
Well, I just want to make sure I understand. Is it the picture that's above here on page 11? Where it's
There's inspiration.
turned into little slivers of bluestone? It's just odd. I mean, I guess I don't mind it, but I wouldn't make it so fussy. This is really, really fussy. All you have to do is maybe change the direction of the stone, but this is very fussy on a sidewalk like that.
Okay, approved if it's of a simpler design.
Much simpler, much humbler. It looks to me like a fancy bathroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perhaps also it's either sort of pick one, herringbone or pavers, but it's a very small space.
Or just outline the entrance. There's a lot of simple things you can do. It's way too much and it doesn't belong on a city street, I don't think. I don't know. I'm not convinced of it.
Can we say that we approve the differentiation of the space provided that it is of a much simpler design.
Yeah,
That sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
and more details.
And we settled the rest of that.
All right, now 13th Street.
And 13th Street, we went through weeks, not weeks of what might have been and what used to be and what they discovered. That's why I told them to just present what they're doing. And in the end, they seem to be securing the building and covering it with brick.
It's a beautiful building. It's a beautiful storefront. I really admired it. So I think everything should be raised up a little bit in quality. So
And
we're
getting all that cleaned up between there and the stone wall is sort of highlights the grittiness of the stone wall, and rather than the grittiness seeping into the row houses.
I mean, I think the lighting should be redone, although a simple downlight and a spotlight is kind of simple and cool, but it doesn't really do a very good job illuminating underneath if they're so interested in they're trying to make a go of it, which we
Are they
want.
proposing lighting?
No, it was legalization of the pendant lights and the spotlights.
I'm sorry, I was on Christopher Street.
No, we're on 13th Street.
Yes, okay. I thought we skipped over and we're coming back. Okay.
Sorry, we're moving.
Let's go first to the signs that the lights are lighting. They should be conforming size.
Absolutely. These signs are, and if they didn't do their homework and just presumed that Bumble and Bumble, which was not a legal sign, was going to be their guide mark, well.
It came to us if we think that there can be an exception to the sign, and we've been very, very strict about that.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean.
And it goes back to what you said.
It's not that expensive to replace either.
Also, I mean, we have to have our uniform standard. If it had come to us and they had asked for a sign that was 4 inches longer than what is allowable, we would have said, no, make it the size that's allowable. So that's what we should say here.
Okay, and the lighting for the signs, what's the objection to that? Particularly they've mimicked something down the way.
Are you talking about the lighting under the canopy or the lighting
Of the signs, of the spotlights.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind them. I mean, I just think the lighting is just not that well designed, that's all.
It looked to me like purposely gritty.
Yeah, that's how I read it too.
Purposely.
To be industrial.
Word, I didn't hear you.
He said gritty, or I would say
I think
industrial.
Cheap. Cheap, that's what it is. Very cheap.
That's one of those scientific words like fussy.
Well, I don't mind it, and the next person will update it. So I don't really feel strongly about it.
The bracket signs.
We have existing spot, existing flag.
The signs on the window.
The non-halo lit, halo lit.
Who are we to say that it's okay to glue them to the window if it's not okay to glue them to the window? This is all coming to us to say that it's possible to have an exception to the standard, which is what staff can approve. And if we feel that there's reason to vary from the standard, then that's what we recommend. If we don't feel there's reason to vary from the standard, we ask that it be within the confines of the rules.
I don't see why it shouldn't be within the confines of the rules. I mean,
I don't either. I'm trying to say it neutrally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that the lettering mounted on structural material.
What? Are we finished with 13th?
No.
Okay, because we have the canopy.
I'll think of a better way to say that so it's clear that they have to, as I suggested, putting a rod across and doing it, which would not interfere with the windows. But I'm not going to say that, but something structural.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't the first time this problem has ever been solved.
Okay, the flags.
Okay, no.
No.
I want to deny the flags.
Yes, deny.
They don't even look nice. They're weird. And
They're placed oddly, and that shape is nowhere else.
The whole thing's a little bit throwing everything possible there to draw attention.
Yeah,
exactly.
That is true.
Their wares are sufficiently quality that will draw attention to the thing. People will come. I'm sorry, Christopher Street.
Well,
no, not yet. We still need to talk about the translucent canopy.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Well, that worries me because
Simple precedent for that.
they're not spending any money here, and now they're doing this, replacing the metal with what looked like a very cheap material, like that little translucent.
Yeah.
So I just think we would need to know more information or something, because I'm not convinced that it's going to look that good with what we've seen.
You mean the material of the plastic?
The material, the detailing, everything. It looks so.
The microphone, not my face.
Okay. Now I have nothing to say. I said I'm worried about all of the execution of it, the design of it, the detail, the material, the quality. I don't think the results are gonna be good if we don't ask for more information.
Can we say, as the commission does itself, that we will approve it provided that staff verify assorted things, like that it's high quality and the
Especially quality in this application.
Having them come back, I think, is going to be a stretch on this.
Yeah, and it's not going to be cheap. So again, I'm worried that everything is so minimal, then bam, they come up with that. And by the way, I think it should be replaced because it really adds a lot of light underneath. So
I think your suggestion is a good one, Chenault, that the commission verify, that it be done in a way that is.
Onto materials and workmanship.
Yeah, because I know we all have the same concern that it would look like, some suburban carport or something.
Well, or, it's the kind of materials that get sent for temporary housing.
Right.
Red Cross. And again, with nothing against any of that, but it's not the right material for here. All right, now Christopher Street.
They seem to justify the brick being used.
Brick looks like hell, I would say.
They're making the building secure.
It should be replaced. They're never going to be able to reuse those face bricks.
Oh, no, it's got to be new.
And I've never waterproofed a 12-inch brick wall in a way that is done on a modern wall. Just saying.
Yeah.
The old school, it lasts forever. You never have a problem. Once you trap some water in there, the brick won't breathe, even if it is in the second and third wide.
And we're gradually, as I was saying when I got taken back to Gansevoort Street, these, I think, 3 buildings between the duplex and the stone wall are a kind of moment of the old.
Yeah.
They what? I didn't hear any.
And they've been sort of, you passed by and didn't notice them, and I think this
Are
one.
you talking about this building?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Sounds good.
I don't know where to begin with Prince Street. So
Oh, boy.
let's talk
I
about
don't
it.
know how we approve it. Let me put it that way. Let me make it simple.
What?
I don't know how we approve most of the elements of this because there is nothing that really connects it to either its humble origins as a structure or to the historic district. It is, whoever said it well. I think whoever said that it was like a spaceship. You know how I say about these rooftop additions? We don't want it to look like a spaceship landed on the top of a house. Well,
And more realistic,
Sci-fi.
there was a vacant lot and a fair came in.
Well, I think Susan summed it up.
But it's got all the elements of a showy carnival kind of.
It looks like something that doesn't belong here.
Right, and the level of intervention on such a relatively small footprint is kind of amazing, but that's not really relevant. What's relevant is its inappropriateness.
I'll go through. It was very hard because it skipped around so much. I will go through and try to make whereases that explain and object at the same time to the various elements.
Yeah.
And then make a conclusion, and you all can look it over and see.
I mean, what will you see? What will you see from the street? You'll see this glowing, metallic, I think.
Undulating.
Yeah.
And
The Sandstones live there.
that sculpture thing is a disaster waiting.
Oh,
well, that's just an invitation.
That's naive. I don't know why they would even come up with that. That is not going to work out well. Within minutes, I almost predict it's asking for it.
It's an invitation.
And it's all.
You put bulletproof glass on top of that.
It is the ultimate calls undue attention to itself.
Yeah.
Well, also art is a very loose term. Who's to say what that is? If it's just a mirror, or is it, I'm not sure I know what I'm looking at.
And it's not a corner of a hotel in Las Vegas.
You sure? I thought we landed there. Yeah, you're right. Well, that makes it simple. I like that. Because we could spend a lot of time, but we don't need to. And it's really felt odd. And by the way, those signs were huge for this little tiny building. Again, this is a modest.
All the senses of proportion were very strange, but the main point is it's just not right for
Well,
there.
it was a taxpayer and wasn't replaced with a proper.
Well, they could tear it down and build something up, and maybe that would be more successful.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like a modest garage. You drive in and leave your car, and now it's become, a moon landing.
And we've had some rather nice buildings in Soho lately. One I can't remember, on a corner lot. It's a nice one that fit, and it was.
Oh, you talking about Bleecker and Lafayette? The garage
I
that
don't
was
remember
there?
exactly which corner, but it was a taxpayer lot that was developed rather than trying.
It's them done well, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's it.
It's a wrap, baby.
So that's it.
He's not ready
I
to
have
leave.
no idea where people are. I got
I don't.
only from Eugene a notice.
They didn't contact you? Eugene?
Eugene is the only person who
Yeah,
said.
we did.
Oh, he did, okay.
And Brian did send an email.
And Brian too. Brian did too.
Oh, and Brian, yeah. There's so few that it doesn't take long to diminish.
Yeah, I came for moral support.
Okay, thank you all.
Okay, thanks,
Valerie,
Sean.
I just saw your email and I'll find a time after the gym, so I'll be strong.
Sounds good. Look forward to it.
All right, good night, everybody.
Bye.
This actually wasn't quite as torturous an evening as I thought it would be, so.
Well, that's good.
No, the last
Monday.
one,
The last
Monday was long.
That was
Yeah.
Monday. All
You
right.
guys went through it fast. Bye, Sean.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Yeah, bye, everyone.